What is going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video, and we're back here for another Ring of Honor television review. This is the 22nd episode of the Honor Club era of Ring of Honor, and is also the aftermath of Death Before Dishonor. So if anything of importance of Death Before Dishonor comes about in this review, I'll be sure to talk about it. I'll say off the top, my head is ringing. I feel like I could throw up at any moment, so I just wanted to point that out. If that happens, that would be great for the video, but I doubt it would. And B, the World Heavyweight and Tag Team Champions are not involved on this show whatsoever. I don't even know. At the very beginning, they showed highlights of all the matches, but like throughout the night, we see or we hear about the other champions or either see them in action, but the World Champion, Tag Team Champions are not involved. So the Tag Team Champions, we have new Tag Team Champions in his Aussie Open, and Claudio Castagnoli retained his World Championship against the Bastard Pac, which I'm not the biggest fan of because, like I said, it's another episode where we do not have the World Champion on the show, and I was kind of wanting a bit of change, but that was not the case. But we did get that change with the Tag Team Championships, which, again, I would like the Lucha Bros to retain and then defend the titles on TV, which we very rarely have seen. No, we haven't seen. They never defended the tag team. It's just, that's what sucks. I'm going on a rant. I don't care. Lucha Bros were ROH Tag Team Champions to never defend the tag team titles on TV, and on ROH TV, the two times they defended it was on AEW. So I am definitely heated because the Lucha Bros are my favorite tag team. And now I don't even know if we're going to see them in ROH anymore. But, you know, that is what it is. Now we're over that. Let's get into the review. We got a pure rules match to start the night off. Eli Lyslam versus Josh Woods. Josh Woods won a pure rules match at Death Before Dishonor at the 0 hour against Tracy Williams. The judges for this match are Jerry Lynn, Jimmy Jacobs, which is very weird because most of the time the judges for the pure rules matches are either Jerry Lynn, like a former wrestler that is at least on screen and known, or a current competitor. So Jimmy Jacobs is that weird middle where he's the only time he's on screen is when he's a judge in the pure rules. And so Jimmy Jacobs is also a Ring of Honor legend. I feel a bit more respect should be shown to him. But the third judge, like I said, is a current competitor. He's also the current pure champion, Katsuyori Shibata, meaning that he retained at Death Before Dishonor against Daniel Garcia. The first rope break for Iceland comes when he is slowly backed into the ropes, which was very weird because he did the same thing to Josh Woods to start the match, and they did not. I think Iceland grabbed the rope where Josh Woods didn't grab the rope, but it was just weird that the same thing happened, and you could have prevented grabbing the rope, but I'm not a wrestler. I'm nitpicking. Woods then targets the arm of Iceland after that, and this leads to Iceland's second rope break attempt when he is trapped in the corner, but Iceland tries to fight back with a series of forearms. However, Woods hits the Chaos Theory into an arm bar, which uses up Iceland's last rope break attempt, but Woods finishes the match off by doing a sleeper hold and penalty kick while staring down Katsuyori Shibata at ringside and winning the match with a gorilla lock. After the match, Mark Sterling challenges Katsuyori Shibata for Josh Woods for next week, and it has already been signed and announced that next week main event is a pure title match between Katsuyori Shibata and Josh Woods. I did enjoy this match, and I imagine the match next week will be very well. I don't know if I said very well. Very good, because it is a title match, and Shibata's involved. The next matchup is Trish Adora versus Vita Von Star. An interview prior to the match, Trish Adora talks about being disappointed with her recent amount of losses because she lost last week on TV, and she also lost at the 0 hour to Layla Hirsch, but in the past, these losses would have destroyed her, but is not going to do that now. Also, I like breaking the fourth wall and telling y'all a little bit of secrets. I tried to film this earlier, like a couple of minutes ago, and I froze for a great 20 seconds because Vita Von Star was in a faction in Ring of Honor, the old era of Ring of Honor, I should say, and I was like, what the hell is their name? And it's The Righteous. And I was mainly thrown off because normally I have the stuff wrote down, or the Righteous would be involved, which, another spoiler, they're not involved on this week's episode of Ring of Honor. And they did lose at Death Before Dishonor in the Fight Without Honor match against the Dark Order, which does make sense for them not being involved due to it being such a gruesome match. Give them the week off. But, long story short, Vita Von Star, former member, or maybe even current member of the Righteous, who just never appears. Who knows? I spent way too much time talking about that. But Vita is the aggressor early in this match because she does not do the Code of Honor, instead sneak attacks Trish Adora. But that does not matter, as Trish Adora wins after hitting Lariat Tubman. Next is a 6-man tag team title match between the Embassy versus the Iron Savages and Jack Jameson. Cage and Bronson start the match off. While Bronson tries his best to fight back early, in the early portion of this match, he is cornered by the other members of the Embassy, which this includes a Khan sidewalk slam on the top rope and a Cage suplex off the second rope. He finally gets the tag into Boulder, and Boulder fights off the Embassy until he misses a top rope move, which, he never really got the chance to do anything, so that's why I said top rope move. But a sneak tag from Bronson happens, and he hits a slam and tries to pin Cage, but Khan breaks it up, or is broken up, and then the Embassy wins, which another secret tag is made by Khan, and he wins the match by hitting the greetings from Ghana. I did write down for, but it's definitely from. Next matchup, Layla Hirsch versus Becca, which, again, is another fourth wall break, I guess I could say. Becca's name is spelled B backwards E-C-C-A. And I write my notes down. I love writing my notes down, even though I cannot read what I write sometimes. I tried my best to write a backwards E, and it took me 3 chances, because the first time I wrote a regular E, the second time I forgot what I was doing, and the third time it just looks like a G. I said, screw it, then it make me remember that more so. But Becca reverses a move with a cartwheel, which Hirsch was not fond of, and Becca does try her best to fight back, but it does not matter because Layla Hirsch wins with a running knee. I will admit, I don't know what the hell's going on because I have something in my eye. It is out of my eye now. Next matchup is the Renegade Twins versus JC and Tiana James, and I will be 100% honest with you. When I heard the announcer announce it, I definitely thought they said Jay-Z. Also, this is a very, I'm not going to say weird episode of ROH, but it's the first time I've noticed they've done this, is that a lot of the matchups, normally they have whoever is facing one another. But in this episode tonight, there's several instances of it where they have, so in this instance, it was the Renegade Twins are in action. So we didn't know who they were facing until we got to the ring and see their competitors. So it just made the Jay-Z thing more notable, or questionable, I guess I should say. That does not matter. Charlotte and JC start the match off, but the Renegade Twins make frequent tags, and they win the match with a variation of the heart attack. Next matchup is a proving ground matchup. Athena versus Christina Marie. Now, Athena, we're doing a proving ground match. That means that she retained her women's championship at Death Before Dishonor in the main event against Willow Nightingale in a very enjoyable match. And I will not lie, I was very shocked that Willow did not win and Athena retained, even though I was pushing heavily for Athena to win, because I would imagine, it's hard to argue, but that Athena is my favorite part of ROH because she's consistently on, and it's consistently in proving ground or title matches where other champions just don't do that. So, but prior to this match, she has an interview with Lexi Nair where she bullies Lexi Nair into telling the women's locker room all about Athena and her title reign continuing, which I guess Christina Marie got the memo because she started this match off very aggressive, but slipped up and got caught with an Athena forearm and an Athena domination. Winning the matchup was Athena with the massive forearm. Next matchup, The Kingdom versus Rhett Titus and Tracy Williams. I would tell you now, this is a very great match. Williams and Bennett start the match off, and in the early portion we see frequent tags from both sides till the Kingdom keep Titus on their side of the ring. Titus fights them off to get the tag to Williams, who hits a top rope DDT and a sharpshooter on Taven. Williams then locks in a single leg Boston Crab on Taven at the same time that Bennett locks in the London Dungeon on Titus. with both following up with pile drivers on those same people. Titus and Taven tag in with Titus landing a massive drop kick, and this might be hot take of the week, but Rhett Titus has a top 5 drop kick in wrestling. Now, I said top 5 because it's a great drop kick. Is it better than Okada's? Probably not. My personal favorite drop kick is AJ Styles. Randy Orton is up there. So there's that little bit of wiggle room where I don't know who's at 4, so that's why I said top 5. But a top 5 drop kick, and it obviously mattered because, like I said, Taven was extremely shook up after this drop kick. And he was so dazed that he lands on Mike Bennett, who makes a secret tag that Titus does not notice, with the Kingdom wrapping things up and winning the match with the Proton Pack. Now, we go backstage with Samoa Joe, Lexi Nair, and member of the board, Stokely Hathaway. And Stokely Hathaway announces that we're having another TV title eliminator tournament to determine a future challenger for Samoa Joe. But this time around, there are 8 competitors compared to last time's, which all of 2 weeks ago, was 4 competitors. And Lexi Nair asked Stokely Hathaway about possibly an unfair advantage that Samoa Joe has because he ejected the boys at ringside at Death Before Dishonor, which led to Samoa Joe getting a victory. But Samoa Joe told Stokely, hey, you better tell her what is up. And Stokely said that he is the man. He makes the rules around here. So we have another TV title eliminator, number 1 contender, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it TV title eliminator tournament. The first matchup being JD Drake versus Christopher Daniels. Lots of chops in this match, with it mainly being from JD Drake. But it takes some time for Christopher Daniels to chop the legs down of JD Drake. Drake attempts a moonsault, which was very impressive, but obviously missed. And Daniels wins the matchup with his version of a moonsault, aka the best moonsault ever. So Christopher Daniels advances in this tournament. The next matchup is Big Bill and Lee Moriarty versus Gabriel Hayter and Aiden Sarania, who are members of Primal Fear, who I remember in the old version of ROH, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember because I thought they looked very different and wore different like masks. And if that was the case, they did not come out in the mask. They just did not look the same. And I won't lie to you, I didn't remember their names until I remember the name Primal Fear. I do not remember these guys' names. But Hayter and Moriarty start the match off, and the members of Primal Fear have the advantage over Lee Moriarty because they make frequent tags, but they did not notice a tag made to Big Bill, who dominates them and wins the match for his side after a big chokeslam. Next matchup, continuation of the TV title eliminator tournament, Tony Nese versus Cheeseburger. And if you noticed, every week that Tony Nese comes out, he tries his best to work out the local fans because they're fat slobs, and you can obviously predict that he did the same thing this week because his opponent is literally named Cheeseburger. And he says that the crowd has been sitting on their, he might have said butts, but I'm just going to say ass, eating cheeseburgers all night. But the crowd was very behind Cheeseburger. Why wouldn't they? And for a split second, we thought that he had won the match after hitting his Shote palm strike, but it only accounted for a 2 count. And then he gets distracted by Mark Sterling, who was at ringside, which leads to Tony Nese winning the matchup with a pump handle slam. Another match in the TV title eliminator tournament. Probably the best. I don't know. It's neck and neck with the first one. This one being Anthony Henry versus Gravity, which Gravity, I'll mention it every week until the commentators don't mention it, then that's when I'll stop mentioning it. But Gravity, the brother of Bandito, who picked up the victory over Commander, and I will not lie to you, I'm not going to comment on that match at Death Before Dishonor, because I was not watching it. I had a lot of things to do during that first portion, aka take care of my dog. Anyways, Henry spends a majority of the match working the arm of Gravity, even after Gravity hits a dive to the outside. But once back inside of the ring, Henry targets the head of Gravity, following several body slams and kicks to the head. But Gravity is able to hit a frog splash to win this match. It's the I don't know. It's the frog splash with his arms to his side. I like to call it the Rey Mysterio frog splash after hitting the 619. I don't know if there's a proper name for that, but Gravity wins to advance. And I won't lie, I'm 99% sure they did not reveal a bracket, so I don't know who these winners will be facing next week, but you can obviously narrow it down. The last matchup in the TV title eliminator first round, Shane Taylor versus Sir Pentico. Sir Pentico tries to catch Taylor off guard early, but it does not. It does very little. It does very little. And Shane Taylor dominates the matchup and wins the match with a big splash. So, moving on in this TV title eliminator tournament is Christopher Daniels, Tony Nese, Gravity, and Shane Taylor. Fun fact, 2 of these men have been former TV champions before. Now is the main event. Sonny Kiss, Slim J, and Jeeves K versus Dalton Castle and the boys. And it has been a while since we've seen the Trustbusters on ROH TV, and I hate their theme song. It was very early on. This is going to be a small little rant, but very early on, the first 8 or so, probably even more weeks, Ari Daivari would have a match, and he'd come out to this theme song, and I hate it. And then Slim J would come out to the same theme song later on, and I still hated it. And now it's still there, and I still hate it. I'll never like it. And so anytime I think that's what made my head start to hurt, because that was the last. It started to hurt during this match, but that was besides the point. Jeeves K and Dalton Castle start the match off, but Sonny Kiss quickly tags in and tries the best to clothesline Castle, and Castle tries his best to clothesline Sonny Kiss, but neither are able to connect. Then the Trustbusters have the advantage after working over Brent Tate, but he eventually is able to make the tag in to Dalton Castle, who saves the day and wins the match for his side and his, I guess you should say, for his boys, after hitting a bangarang on Jeeves K. And it was the last time I'll mention it, because I imagine next video my head will not hurt. My head continually hurt because Dalton Castle spun Jeeves K around a lot before he finally hit his bangarang to win the matchup and end this episode of Ring of Honor. So, Death Before Dishonor was a great pay-per-view. The only complaint is I just wish the world title match. I was slightly upset that there wasn't a title change, because y'all know I was pushing for the Bastard Pac to win. But there's also an interference at the end, which I think was kind of a main factor in the women's title going on last, because having your world title match have a screw finish to end the show, it just would have not set well. And so having a great women's match that was historic, meant a lot, and it had a big history, it just kind of solidified them needing and deserving and earning that main event match. But very little of Death Before Dishonor had to do tonight, so we'll see what is up Ring of Honor in the future. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to throw up in a trash can, and I'll see you in the next video.